everyone, my name is Elle and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit fun and I thought that I would share some pan porn with you guys. So I'm going to be talking about 10 palettes that I have hit pan on. Some of them I've hit pan on just on one shadow and some of them it's multiple. So I thought this would be a fun compilation video where I can show off some of that pan and talk about some of the formulas and the things I like and the things I don't like and how hard these things are to hit pan on. So let's start with some Anastasia. So I have two Anastasia eyeshadow palettes and one highlighter palette to show you guys. Let's start with the Mario palette. So this was a limited edition palette. I was recently working on it in my project Pan Porn, and I have pan on 5 of these shades. Most of them metallic because that's what I was focusing on, using them all over the lid. This is such a soft formula. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm a little worried that subculture is more like this than like this, because I definitely notice a huge difference between the two palettes. And it's really easy to hit pan on though, so I guess that's sort of the silver lining with this thing. If you were thinking about trying to work on some of your eyeshadows, if you want to do a pan that palette or something, I would totally recommend something like this, either the Mario or the Modern Renaissance, which I'll talk about in a second. And because this one was limited edition, I really do want to finish it up. I don't see any point or reason to keep something and not use it and just have it sitting around. Like, I want to use this up. And the shades are beautiful. I just find it's really hard to work with together. Everything gets really muddy really fast. You have to separate things. So the mattes you can use with other shadows, and the metallics and shimmers you can use with other shadows. Just don't try and pair the mattes and the metallics and shimmers together because you just end up with a mess, at least in my opinion. My experience using this has been very similar to some people's reviews and tutorials I've seen using the Subculture palette, where everything just ends up getting muddy and you have to kind of take things off and repeat. That's been my experience with this palette, and that's why I've hit pan on it so easily. Let's talk Modern Renaissance. So my palette is really dirty, of course. I think anyone who really loves and uses this palette a lot, their palette is going to be dirty. And I've hit pan on a lot of shades in this palette. I've hit pan on 10 shades in this palette. I really like this palette a lot. I love the assortment of colors. I love the assortment of finishes. I don't love the formula that much. If you have been with me for a while, you know I much prefer a stiffer formula. Something like MAC eyeshadows. MAC and some Urban Decay are my preference, but these are just so beautiful. They're so fun to play with, and I find that they do play really well with each other, so it was very easy to hit pan on these, but they're also very soft. Not as soft as the Mario palette, but still very soft and very easy to hit pan on. And I do find the pan size to be relatively small. The pans are relatively shallow, so it's not challenging to hit pan on this. If you love this palette, you would definitely hit pan on it. It's one thing that makes me skeptical when I watch tutorials and videos from people who say that they love this palette and it looks brand new, because I just don't know how you could use a palette more than a handful of times and still have it looking brand new, because especially with a formula like this, I feel like you are going to hit pan on something that you love if you've used it a lot. And I also have the Ultimate Glow Kit from Anastasia, and I wanted to show this because I have pan on one highlighter. So this is Snow, the white shade there, and I have massive pan on this guy. I use it to mix with the other ones because on their own, these ones are too dark for me to use on my skin tone. They're beautiful, but I just end up with that stripe on my skin as opposed to having a highlighted effect, which is why I use Snow to mix with them to get various shades of gold. So that's why I've used so much of Snow and not as much of the other ones. I think I've used Amber Gold, the second most. There's a slight dip in that one. That's got to be one of my favorite highlighters. I really wish I could wear this on its own because it's such a beautiful sort of rose gold shade. But unfortunately, it just leaves a little bit of a stripe on my skin. So just with a little bit of Snow, I would blend it in a little bit more. So you still get a little bit of that rose gold sheen, but it's not intense like it is on its own. So I really want to continue to work through this palette. It makes me sad to think about finishing Snow because this is a limited edition product that I really love, but I would not repurchase the whole palette just for that one little pan as much as I like it, because I love a very metallic glittery highlight right now. That is what I'm really into. I just like to be shiny and sparkly, and this gives me a pretty easy way to do it. It just gives you that glittery wet skin sort of effect, which I'm crazy about. So I love this concept though. I love that I have options that I can create and mix things together. It's so much fun to mix things. Yes, it's nice to have things that just out and out match right, but it's also fun to mix. Moving on now to Kat Von D. I do have pan on a couple of my Kat Von D things, but I decided just to show the Alchemist palette for now because I'm actually planning on panning this very, very soon. So if you're watching this, this is a sneak peek. I'm going to start a new Pan That palette with this guy just because I have so many things that are similar now, and I'm actually noticing a little bit of irritation on my eyes when I use this, so I just want to finish it up. So the Alchemist palette, this is a multi-purpose palette. I have pan on one shade right there in the middle. That's ultraviolet or amethyst. I have really good dips in all of the shades as well. So this is a palette you can use in a few different ways. I tend to use it as an inner corner highlight, a brow bone highlight, and a face highlighter because you have green, purple, blue, and pink. So you can really achieve that fun, funky sort of vibe with your makeup. It's very much in the vein of Moonchild, which I recently purchased. It fits the whole mermaid, unicorn, whimsical, fun sort of makeup thing. Not necessarily a thing for every day and with every sort of makeup look. A blue highlighter you're gonna have to use appropriately. It's not gonna match with everything you wanna do. I've tried it, I really have. So you just gotta sort of figure out how to play with it. You can also layer it on top of lipstick. I've done that a lot. You can layer it on top of other shadows to sort of transform them a little bit. Layer it on top of liners. This palette has a lot of versatility, but just where I have so many similar things right now and where I'm starting to notice a little bit of irritation, that's why I'm going to start panning it. So it's nice to see that one little bit of pan right now, and hopefully I will see more soon. I thought that I would throw this palette in here for fun because I haven't talked about these guys in a while. So they've been discontinued now for a couple of years, these Stila eyeshadow palettes in the cardboard packaging. This is In The Know. I have a couple of other ones in the Moment and In The Light, and I just don't reach for them very often anymore. And I was looking through all of my palettes and I saw that I had pan on two of these shades, and I remember just how much I used to love this palette. So one of the shades is Depotted, although you probably can't even really tell because it was a matte black eyeshadow. I went through a phase where I was trying to depot a lot of things, and it just didn't work for me. I'm not a depotter. I wish I hadn't depotted what I have depotted because I don't reach for those things at all. So this was just an experiment. I still have the shadow, it's just in a Z palette. I might glue it back in here, I might just keep it there, who knows. The shadows are not as great as they once were, so this is an all matte palette, but I really loved using it. So the two shades I have pan on are Air and Wind, and you can see they're very light colors. Air I would use as a highlighter, and Wind I was using to set my eyeshadow primer because it's a shadow that matches my skin tone. So I thought that I would show this because it's long been discontinued, but it's still a pretty good palette and I definitely want to get more use out of it. Next we have some Too Faced. So this is the Semi-Sweet Chocolate Bar palette, and I have pan on only one shade in this palette, but I thought it was worth talking about because I find that the Too Faced shadows are really densely packed and really hard to hit pan on. Now, honestly, I have not used this one or the Sweet Peach one, which I'll show you in a second, that much in comparison to my other shadows. I don't hate the formula, but I don't love the formula either. It's not as blendable as like MAC and Urban Decay eyeshadows for me, so I just don't find myself gravitating towards them as much as I do those kinds. So I have pan on the shade Bon Bon, which I was using as a lid shade, and I use it wet. That's the thing, I tend to use glittery and shimmery shadows applied wet with some Fix Plus because I really like a more intense foiled look on my eye. I also find that it helps the shadow last longer and it gives me more control, especially in a case like the Mario palette where the shadow is very, very soft and I would get a ton of fallout. Using it with Fix Plus would help me get more control. It also helps me hit pan easier. Not always my intention, but sometimes I definitely play it up a little bit. So Bonbon's the one I have pan on. Caramel, I'm really close to hitting pan on. I feel like if I use this for like a straight week, I could hit pan on caramel, no problem. And I also have a dip in coconut creme because I was using that to set my eyeshadow primer when I was using it. I don't know how easy it would be to hit pan on a lot of those other shadows, especially the darker ones. I don't have a lot of experience panning Too Faced eyeshadows. It's not my area of expertise. Urban Decay, I can advise you about all day long. Too Faced, I can't. And then, like I had mentioned, the Sweet Peach palette. So I have pan again on one of these shades, just one. It's a matte shade. It's the shade Georgia, which I was using in my crease. It smells so good. I don't even like peach candy, but it smells like peach candy, and I just, for some reason, like that. So I actually have good dips in a couple of these shadows, Peaches and Cream and Bellini, for example. I do feel like I could hit pan on more of those shades, especially those glittery shades. Give me like a couple weeks with Bellini and Luscious. I could definitely hit pan on those, no problem. This palette I've had a lot of success with and I've had a lot of fun using. The shade Bless Her Heart, this like green shade, is so beautiful. Just looking at this now really makes me want to reach for it more and play with it a little bit more. And to wrap this up, we'll finish with some Urban Decay, of course. I've already finished 3 Urban Decay palettes, and no, I'm not going to show them again. I bring them out every now and then just to sort of proof my receipts, even though I do have videos on them as well. If anybody's interested, I have Pan That Palette playlists and Project Pan Porn playlists where I talk about the eyeshadows I've been using and stuff I've been working on. But this one I don't think you guys have seen. This one is the Electric palette from Urban Decay, one of my favorite palettes, although it does look like it has very little usage, although I have used it a lot. I have pan on one of these shades. This is the shade Freak, this green shade right here. I love this whole palette except for the silver. The silver is awful. I just wish they'd replace it with something else. Urban Decay, you can do good silvers. I know. You have a really good one called Shell Shock. Why is that not here? Anyway, this palette is so beautiful, but you don't need to pick up a lot of product on your brush because it's so pigmented. It's actually called a pressed pigment palette. That's its official name. It's not called like an eyeshadow palette. Some of these shadows are not even supposed to technically use on your eye. I do anyway. You don't need to pick up a lot of product. It's why it's really hard to hit pan on this. People who have hit pan on this, you guys are my heroes. So Freak, I love. I've been using this a lot recently on the inner corner or my lower lash line and mixed with other things to create different shades of green because I don't have a lot of green eyeshadows and I've just started to gravitate more towards it, especially pairing green with like oranges and stuff. Like I popped a green eyeliner with this look today. So I definitely want to use this more, even though it has been discontinued. I don't want to ever part with it, but I do want to get my use out of it. The next palette is the Naked 3 palette. So I have pan on 3 shades in this palette, 3 metallic glittery shades. Not my favorite things in the world, these things that have a lot of glitter in it. Definitely went hard with the Fix Plus on those 3, Dust, Buzz, and Trick. Beautiful shades, especially Trick, this rose gold shade. It's so beautiful, but so high maintenance. You definitely need to work with that hard. I was thinking about starting a new series called Obsessed or Over It and sort of going through some of my old favorite things because this one I got, it was one of my favorite things. I thought it was gonna be my favorite thing for all time. And then I just sort of got over it a little bit and I want to try it out again and play with it a little bit more because I feel like with so many new things and constantly buying and trying new things, you forget about the old things that you used to love. So I know that there's so many good qualities in this palette, so it would be nice to show this a little bit more love. And the 10th palette is the Vice 3 palette. So I've hit pan on 2 of these shades, 2 beautiful metallics. These are an example of eyeshadows that Urban Decay does right because they're very smooth, but they have that reflective sheen, but not those chunks of glitter. Sonic and and Lucky. Lucky is such a beautiful warm copper eyeshadow. It's so pretty all over the lid. And Sonic is just so cool. I love to wrap it all around my eye and just sort of go a little bit messy and grungy with it. One of my favorite things to do is just be really messy and grungy with my eyeshadow, especially things that are pink and red toned. I know it can sometimes make you look sick and ill or dead, but I love that vibe every now and then. So there's a lot of good things about this palette. This is one of my favorite Vice palettes, although I really do have things I like about all of them. There's some good shades in here. Again, I have so many things that it's hard to reach for everything and give everything proper use, but I like to see that a wide variety of my stuff has pan showing. Even if it might just be one pan, it still means that I've been reaching for the palette multiple times. And just as a fun little bonus, I thought that I would show my Naked to Basics palette because I have pan on every single one of these shadows, every single one. I really do want to finish this up and purchase a new one at some point like I did with the Naked Basics palette. So I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe it will inspire you to try and hit pan on one of your eyeshadows, or just maybe inspire you to keep going if you are trying to pan a palette or trying to hit pan. It can be hard sometimes, it really can, but you will get there if that's what you want to do. If you want to finish an entire eyeshadow, if you want to hit pan, if you want to finish an entire palette, you can do it. You just got to keep going. And that's the most important piece of advice I can give to anybody who is wondering how. It's just keep going. Just use the shadows, enjoy them, have fun, and keep going. If you ever find yourself frustrated, stop. It's not worth it. It's makeup. It's makeup and it's supposed to be fun, and you should have fun expressing yourself, and you shouldn't feel obligated to finishing something or even just using something that you don't want to use. So that is everything for this video. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Make sure to let me know if you have any video requests for me, anything you would definitely like to see me do. I have a little time off work, so I'm hoping to spend some more time doing some videos because it's really just so much fun. I just enjoy doing it so much. So anyway, thank you once again, and I hope I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.